All right, good morning, everybody. I welcome you all to the day 2 of the Fishers Prep Activators workshop to equip young people who we have selected. 4 young people we have selected in Lagos and Ondo states to join the first part of the Fishers Prep project aimed at teaching sustainable fishing to fishers in coastal communities, right, in 2 states. And this is aimed at promoting climate resilience of fisheries in Nigeria. And yesterday, our workshop was focused on data analysis, where we were introduced to data collection, arrangement, interpretation, and visualization. Today, we are going to focus on, scientific report writing. And our trainer for today is Mr. Kehinde Adejugbagbe, who is an environmental toxicologist and also a research fellow at the Federal University of Technology. So Mr. Kehinde is a fisheries and aquaculturist whose work is focused on safe fish production, contaminants, pollutant-free environments, and sustainable fish farming business. His research and writing are interested in quantitative assessment of contaminants, pollutants, legacy, and the margin, differential build-up, and their correlation and their correlational public health risk. Kehinde works with SRK hubs, integrated services to provide intelligence on sustainable agribusiness models, water modeling, rearing facility, and fish feed latches management. His recent research is or her focus on aquatic ecotoxicology through investigation of contaminants, pollutant fate, transmutation, and interaction within environmental, biota, and non-biota components, up to detailed levels of organization and remediation. He's a mentor and advisor to individual, environmental, and ocean organizations, and technical partner of some agro-fishery business ventures. He enjoys surfing, reading, critical analysis, and traveling to places of ecological interest. Kehinde strongly believes that a balanced green and blue landscape and economies is possible when we jointly work together towards a clean and safe environment. Please, let's give a round of applause for our trainer for today, Mr. Kehinde Adejugbagbe. Let's clap for him. Mr. Kehinde, over to you, sir.
A very good morning to you, everyone. I believe you can all hear me.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Let me quickly start my camera so that we could see. Once again, I'm pleased to be here to be part of this workshop and this laudable project to enrich the coastal communities and to empower the youth to take responsible actions towards aquatic conservation. I'll be sharing my screen. The host should please enable screen sharing.
Okay, kindly send the request so I can confirm it from here.
Right, you're saying host disabled Participants screen sharing.
Okay, I'm going to make you the host now so you can share from there.
All right. All right. So can you all see my screen? Hello?
Yes, I can see your screen from here.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
See me as well.
All right. So today's workshop, I want to minimize. Okay. Yes. Today's workshop will be based on scientific writing, and here we tend to equip you with basic skills or knowledge on how to go about scientific writing. And I have a few slides here to take us through these how loads work.
Rachel.
Please kindly mute your mic. Kindly mute your mic.
Here I have the agenda of this training, where we'll be looking into definition of terms, examples of scientific writing, purpose of scientific writing, then features of scientific writing, then the diction, that is the vocabulary of academic writing, where we're looking into the academic word list and our co-location list. Then lastly, we'll be talking about elements of scientific writing. So these are what we'll be discussing today. So let's start. So let's begin with definition. Scientific comes from the word science, and which originates from the Latin word scire, meaning to know. So obviously nobody does anything or write anything without knowing what they are writing about. So what is something being scientific? It means that it must follow a stepwise approach. That is, the approach must be stepwise. Then whatever you are writing or you are working on must follow a particular methods and must be systematical. And overall is that it must be demonstrable. Whatever it is that must go through scientific process must be demonstrable or must pass through a demonstrable procedure, and which in fact must be in a way reproducible. That is, we must be able to reproduce it, or somebody else must be able to reproduce what you have done as a scientist. Now, a person who conducts scientific research is called a natural philosopher or man of science, or basically what we all know as researcher. Now, before I continue, let me ask, who is the person that writes a scientific writing? What name do we call such person? I'm having glitches here.
Yes, let's drop our answers in the chat box. Let's drop our answers in the chat box, everybody.
I said, what name do we call someone who writes scientific reports or findings, who documents scientific writing? The person that conducts scientific research is called a natural philosopher or man of science, or basically researcher. Now, who writes scientific writing or who document scientific activities? Any?
Someone is saying something in the chat box. Someone said scientific writer.
Okay. Who else
Another
again?
person said scientific journalist.
Okay, I'm still looking for a particular word. One more to go, then I'll give the answer. Well, you are all right. A journalist is someone who writes, a writer, but I'm looking for an author, somebody who documents scientific findings is called an author. So let's proceed. Now, writing in itself originates from Proto-Germanic, just like we have the science originating from Latin. And writing simply means to outline, to lay out, or to carve out. So whatever one wants to write or you want to document, you must have an outline, you must have a layout, or you can, in a way, carve out from a broad sense to the specific. And this is where it is always interesting when we are writing. You have to have a particular area of interest, which is very, very important before one writes. So in this case, permit me to now say writing is an act of forming letters and characters used to communicate information. And not just data, but information. So whatever we are writing, we'll be able to communicate information. And then that takes us to the next slide, which brings together the two concepts: scientific writing, which is a technical form of writing that is intended to communicate scientific information to the general public and or specific audience, which in this case are scientists. So scientific writing is not only limited to a group of people like scientists. The general public can also benefit from such writing. And permit me to say, writing is hard work. Before one writes, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifices, a lot of critical thinking, and a good thought process to be able to bring out a good scientific writing or report. Are we still together, please? So I'm moving on to the examples of scientific writing, which are journal articles. A journal article is an article which has undergone scrutiny, review by different editors or authors or scientists in that particular area of study. They must have subject that particular manuscript into scrutiny before it is being accepted to be published in any publishing platform. So another one is a scientific poster, which are always used at conferences or any scientific gathering where a scientist will come with this poster to address a particular group of people who have interest in his or our work. Another example is a grant or research proposal. So we can also use scientific writing to present our proposal for funding purposes. Another is a literature review articles. Here, a scientist can look into a particular area or topic and then bring out a summary by looking at where the focus or the study started and where it is presently and where it is going to. Basically, gaps are looking into during literature review, and questions will be asked. And then sometimes literature review can also form a whole scholar paper or findings if it follows the methodology that is set down. So just to explain further, I have on the screen examples of literature review and the structure. Then another here is the poster. So this is how a poster looks like, always on either a canvas, with text and graphical objects, just to bring out the beauty of the scientific work. I don't know why this keeps popping up. So here is a journal, an article that was published on oceanography and fisheries. And this is a typical example of scientific writing, which is made available for readers or for scientists in the oceanography and fisheries area. So purpose of scientific writing, to fill in the gaps. So gaps here represent problems, represent, areas of interest or things that needed to be worked on, and also to summarize scientific facts. Yes, we can use scientific writing to, look for facts, look for data, and then have them summarized for future use or for future references. And then we also use scientific writing to analyze, synthesize, and evaluate. So this is very, very important. Every author or anyone who has gone through the process of academic activities and has written a thesis will understand that before a thesis is written, he or she must analyze, synthesize and evaluate whatever information he or she has come across before writing anything. Then another purpose is to generate, uncover, and discover new ideas, facts, findings, or conclusions. Sometimes research are not, definite. It keeps improving. That is what they say, research. You are researching it. You are looking into it to discover new ideas, to discover new insights. And this can only be possible through scientific writing. And of course, without reading, there'll be no writing. And without thinking, obviously there'll be no writing too. Then to inform. So scientific writing will be a medium of information dissemination, where people are informed about a particular issues or topics. It could be epidemiology, it could be, okay, let me talk about fishery stamp now. It could be about the status of a particular fishery or any happening that is taking place within a particular water body, either fresh, marine, or brackish, or it could be the state or the livelihood of the coastal community. We can use scientific writing to educate and to inform people. Also to display level of expertise. Yes, we can also use scientific writing to display some level of expertise, and which is always directed towards solving problems. So, which implies that through scientific writing, we can solve lots and lots of problems. So let's look at features of scientific writing. This is very, very important. One, it must be structured. And this means that you must have clear focus of what you want to write. And this comes when you understand what you intend to write on and why. So focus, not just, okay, let me bring it down to this topic, to this focus of this project. We are to gather information about fishing activities and how these activities affect the marine or fishery resources. So you have to tailor your activities to a particular focus, and which is to gather information from the fisher folks or from the fishermen and how they fish or exploit these fishery resources from the aquatic water body. So here you must have a clear focus, and then you know why you are going, just to educate them about fishing activities that are not obnoxious or that are not harmful, and at the same time that will ensure that we have sustainable access to these resources, not only for our own time, but for future generation. Now, planning. This is very, very important. After having a clear focus, another step is to plan. Whatever we want to write on, we plan it. Then from there, we know what and what needed to be part of what we want to write and what and what is not needed. So planning will knock out some irrelevant concepts or ideas and then focus majorly on what is essential. Then the writing itself must be cohesive. That is, you must be able to link different sections together using reference words or transition signals. You don't just start a particular paragraph without having or without starting each paragraph with something that links it with the previous paragraph. And those are the transition signals. They are very, very important. Then it must be coherent. It must be coherent. That is, there should be logical flow, as one progresses of ideas or of concepts and facts. You shouldn't put the cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart. Everything must follow through a particular logical sequence so as to, bring out the meaning of what you are bringing out to your audience. You can't just bring your conclusion into your introduction. No, everything must be at the right place at the right time. Then scientific writing must be evidenced. Yes, here you must support all opinions, arguments, or premises with evidences. Yes, you might have your own personal opinion or what you have seen happening, but for it to be accepted by other people, you must be able to support it. You must be able to substantiate your points with facts. And that is where you have to look for information, whether it has happened in a place and what is the consequence of what you are trying to report or bring to the knowledge of the public. Then you must use statistics. Here you must use data to support whatever you are writing. Then citations. Yes, this refers to previous work that has been carried out in that particular or on that particular topic of interest. You must look for or read up on or read up publications in that area, and then you must cite them by ensuring that you put those citations or those authors in your writing. Then examples, give examples, yes, so that this will, bring or add more value to your work. Then you can also support your evidence with reasons for why fishes or fish stock are depleting. Is it due to global warming, or is it due to pollutants or contaminants, finding their way from agriculture, from the blue economy, which is the exploitation of oil? So you must have reasons, and whatever it is, you must substantiate them with facts and figures. The other features is you must be critical. Now, this is the most important aspect of scientific writing. At this level, all informations are evaluated. All data are critically looked into, critically, to know if they fit in or align into the subject of interest. If not, then you must do away with them. So information or data are critically analyzed and or evaluated at this level. So you might be looking at what causes a particular fish stock, depleting, and you might have seen some fishermen landing more of that stock. That couldn't have been the only factor who have impacted their population inside the wild. But when you look at certain information, probably you look into the biology of the fish stock or fish species, this could also, affect their rate of recruitment. So obviously, landing more of them will put their population in, under threat, but at least one should be critically look into every information, every data, before they find their way into the scientific write-up. Now, critical thinking helps us to unravel limitations or merits of the topic of focus or previous studies or information as well as data. So when you are looking through publications which have been written on a particular topic of interest, you'll be able to understand exactly which of them aligns with what you want to do and which of them does not align with what you want to do. So as well to be able to maximize and limit what you are writing. And it is always difficult to get all of this done by yourself. Sometimes you have to meet with an expert in that area to be able to guide you so that you'll be able to know which of this information that you have aligns with what you intend to write, that you don't load your writer with unnecessary information. So here you match your facts, the statistics with the reality of what you are working on. Now, you can say certain fish species are, under threat or are threatened. You have the facts, you have the, figures to back up whatever you are saying. So here you have to be critical and you must be able to, filter out what and what is not or are not necessary. So you match your facts or your statistics with the reality on ground or with the events so as to know what and what is needed to find their way into your scientific writing. Obviously, some of this information can be useful for subsequent write-up, but not in the present one that you are working on. So this is very, very important, and that is called good data management, by presenting what aligns or what is most relevant to what you are writing on. Another feature is you have to be precise. Here, you use clear and specific language or library or terminologies. Every profession or every area have their specific register or have their specific language. And you must at all times ensure that you stick with every one of them so as to, bring out the beauty of your work. You cannot use medical terminologies in fisheries write-up. They don't go hand in hand. So you must, be sure that you know what and what you use. And we'll be discussing more on this on the diction. Every profession has their language. They have their diction. They have their vocabulary. And you must be able to use them in a clear and specific manner. Now, Fisher Press project, some fish stocks, fishing and fishing practices or techniques. And here you must look at what is obnoxious and what is friendly, so as to get the right terminologies to use. And where a particular terminology are specific to a particular areas of fisheries. Under fisheries, we have different areas of fisheries. We have those that are into trawling, we have those that are into toxicology, we have those that are into conservation. So every of these areas have their specific, terminologies. And where you are using a particular terminology that is not widely known, then you must define them. You must write a short caption just to educate your readers. I would like to ask if there are any questions at this point before I proceed. Any question, please? Any question, or should I continue?
Sir, no question. No question from.
No question, sir.
No question.
All right. I'm trying to check through the chat if I have any. All right.
I think there's some questions. No one said there's one question.
One question.
I think someone said there's question.
No,
Okay,
I
in the
didn't.
chat.
And I was saying yes to when he said, can you continue?
All right. All right. Thank you. So
Yeah.
another features of scientific writing that is very critical to having good write-up is being balanced. Here, you must do away with any biases, or you must not be one-sided. You must take away personal ideas, personal opinions, and then focus on the topic of interest. And now, this is where most people, get it all wrong. They tend to bring their emotions into writing. As much as we can't do away with emotions in writing, by the time you are presenting your findings, you must take away emotions. You must be able to balance whatever you are saying, looking at all factors that could lead up to your findings. You must look at the positive and look at the negative, and before you arrive at a definite conclusion. This is very, very important. So you must, in a way, iterate your claims or position without being personal or being myopic, or putting your own personal or myopic ideas or opinion into your writings. You must look at it critically. You must balance everything such that when people are reading your write-up, they will know that you have a balanced write-up, or you have come out without having any issues, or you're not trying to enforce your own ideas on people. Paula, I can see your hand. Just give me a few time. So now note that having balanced scientific writing may be difficult due to limited access to data, information, and or poor evaluation. I'm going to explain this. Sometimes where an author failed to do critical evaluation, they might end up having a lopsided or a one-sided or biased write-up, which of course will put off most of his readers. So you must have a balanced, you must look at all issues critically, and where you have limited access to information or data, the little one that you have, you must let everybody know the scope of your data, what it covers, and why you are having this position, not just you enforcing your own bias, your own opinion on your readers. As much as we try to maintain a balanced write-up, we all know that we are all biased beings. We have this tendency of, bringing in our own point of view and then letting it be into what we are writing. But as much as possible, we must have a balanced write-up. Yes, Kola, you can go ahead.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. One question now. I want to ask, based on my little experience, I've interviewed some people like the fishermen. These people they're not being scientific. And as a fisher prep, if you need to be scientific in your writing when you are not scientific in their like a conversation, like as a fisher, will you be like assuming, because are we going to be like when writing, are we going to be like assuming or taking an assumption? Maybe I don't know, maybe you're getting my point. Like people that were getting information, getting data from, they are not scientific, because most of them they are not literate, and even those people that are literate, they are not scientific in their doings. So as a fisher prep now, if you are collecting data from them, how are we going to how are we going to get put down the being scientific with what the the information they're giving to us.
Okay, thank you for your question. Before I attend to that, let me quickly run through my slides. I'm going to attend to your question, and if I skip it, you can easily drop it in the chat. I hope that is good.
All right, sir, no problem.
Okay. Here, okay, let me talk more about being balanced. Here, you must, know that no matter how your findings or how certain your findings are, you must, look at it from a critical point of view, from the uncertainty level or side to the certain side, to the certainty side, and then you must be able to know that even what you have is limited to the scope of or to the data that you have. To the level of information that you have. So you must, in a way, be sure that you have a balanced and write-up. And when we look at a particular issue, like the rate of exploitation from the wild, especially within our marine water space, how some fish were exploited, and how some local communities are not giving fishing rights to these stocks, and this calls for certain information. If one is not well informed, he or she could go with the wind and say that some were not biased. Probably the government is biased by giving out license to certain people over the other. But I must tell you that giving out license or fishing license requires certain requirements, certain standards that must be met. So instead of a local fisher folk or fisherman having this biased mind that he or she is being marginalized, he or she should look into the requirement and see if he or she meets up with those requirements, before having his position. So that's why I said that we are always a biased being, but by the time we subject our stand into scientific, procedure or process, we might say that we are the one that is having limited information or access to limited information or poor evaluation of the status of the problem. So I move on to another one, which is being objective. Now, this also goes in line with being balanced. Here, emphasis is on the topic or argument and not the author or the writer, if you are working on essay or literature review. Now, you must emphasize on the topic of interest, on your findings, on the argument you are trying to bring to the table. And let's say you are also looking into somebody else's publications or work. You shouldn't, attack the author or the writer. You are simply to focus on the information he or she has put down. So this is very important so that you don't start attacking a particular writer. So that is being emotional rather than being, critical or being objective in one's approach to writing. So whatever it is, you must try to understand the underlying factors or reasons. If we are dealing with fishermen, okay, I'll give you a typical example. Now, we see more fishermen landing a particular stock, probably stock that are in a way classified as threatened by IUCN. Now, you must know the underlying factors. They say that the fishermen are ignorant that this particular fish species have been, classified as threatened. So instead of attacking the fisherman, why not understand the underlying factors of why he is fishing those stocks? Are you getting my point? So this is very important. And by the time you are to write out your report, you must understand this, not that you just have a generalized or hasty conclusion that they were just fishing. They could as well have some level of ignorance about the status of any fish stock that they are getting out of the water. So you must understand the underlying factors that is responsible for certain actions or certain occurrences within the fisheries landscape. So by the time you know this, then you'll be objective in the way or in the manner that you present your information. This is very, very important. And even though if those individuals or fishermen are knowledgeable about this status, I mean, about the causes, or I mean, about the status of that particular fish species, then that calls for further analysis or further investigation as to why they are landing these particular fish stocks. So here here, by the time you have to report it, you must ensure that you communicate it in a passive and impersonal languages. Now, passive means that you are not putting everything on the spotlight, but you are in a way reporting in a way that will still bring out the beauty of what you have seen or what you have investigated without actually nailing or bringing anyone into spotlight. Because next time, you will not be able to get the information required or you won't be able to get such information from them again, because you have, in a way, put them on the spotlight, and getting information from those people will be difficult. So I have some examples here. Like if you say the caught fish was cooked, why not put it in a passive way that said the landed fish were processed? So we all knew that everything will still go through cooking, frying, but process, encompasses all every of these activities. And then if you are also reporting as a writer, even though it is your opinion or it is your findings, you don't use the word "in my opinion" or "according to my findings." You can state that it can be deduced or inferred. That is, you can conclude based on your findings. So these are very important when we are, presenting our findings. And because by the time they get out there, then it means something different. So we must choose our language structure so that they are impersonal. They in a way conceal the identity and then focus on the action rather than on the individual or the writer, just in case you are reading through a particular publications or when you are doing your literature review. So let's move to the next one. That is being formal. Whatever you are writing must be formal. You must avoid complex sentences which can, in a way, lose the context of what you are writing. So complex sentences are welcome in scientific writing. They are welcome. But as much as possible, ensure that they are simple and they are void of contractions or informal words. So contractions like isn't, ain't, weren't, so these are for informal style of writing, because scientific writing is a formal, writing where ideas, information, facts, figures are presented rather than the other way around. It's not as if we are discussing with our friends. We are discussing with a wide range of audience across different sectors or different disciplines. Therefore, you must, in a way, write such that it is void of abbreviations and contractions or informal words like swears, slangs, as so on. So you must at all times ensure that you use the right words that convey the meaning, the context of your writing without losing them. Basically, some time ago, when I started writing too, I have a mentor, and each time I submit my write-up to him, he would tell me that, Kenny, you have a lot in your head, and you're trying to say so much with few words, but that is not sign that I should, in a way, break down whatever I'm writing and let it be simple. Let there be punctuations where they need to be. Let there be comma, all those things, and ensure that your audience read and understand. Because once the sentences becomes complex, sometimes the context, the true meaning, or the import of your writing may be lost. So write in simple, clear sentences that is void of informal ways of writing. I have some examples here that there are lots of factors. Now here, writing, here is just so direct. Anybody could have said that. Even a writer could have said it. But when it is to put that same statement into writing, then you see that it is quite different from there are significant numbers of factors. You can see the two, convey the same meaning, but the approach, are two different things entirely. So let's look at another one again. Physical conditions change a lot. Now, you might say there were considerable variations in or affecting fishing conditions. These two words or sentences, refers to same or have same meaning, but by the time you are presenting it in a write-up, everything must follow a particular logical way of presentation so that it will convey, the meaning, the import, or the intent of the writer to the audience. The another area is the informal words, like if you are looking at some nouns, like you want to refer to the boat guy, to the fishing machine, get the appropriate name of whatever you are writing. So avoid informal words like guy. Guy can be anything. Not now that we now have genderless community now. So you must be sure of what you are writing, and what you write must have a direct or informal or formal words so that they don't, lose the context. So let's look at some academic word lists. So this we have community, residents, constructions. So this is a library on its own. It has different group lists. So from group 1 up to group 11. So these are words that you can choose, when you are writing your scientific write-up. You must, in a way, look for those that convey what you intend to write. Some words have similar meaning or connotative meaning or annotative meaning. So, but you must look at the one that is more appropriate. So this is the group 1 academic word list, and you can see that some of the words are very familiar, and how you use them, will determine the context of what, or the meaning of what you are passing to the audience. Let's look at example of a scientific write-up. This one is from the article I shared earlier. I just cropped out a particular one, and I want us to take note of some facts, statistics, and data. So scientific write-up must contain these facts or these components before they can convey a meaning. Now let's look at this. Nigeria, one of the most populated countries in West Africa, has a land of 923,760 kilometers square. That is a data or a fact, out of which 40 million hectares comprises inland waters. Now, when you look at this information, it has some facts and it has references. It has citation. You can see Neyland et al. So Nigeria has one of the highest feed yield per area within West Africa, but consumption per person is one of the lowest due to, I want us to underline the word due to. Let me see if I can get, okay. Now you can see the word due to here. So this shows the reason, you know. So whatever you are writing, you must state the facts, you must state the statistics, and you must state the reason, which is very, very important. Then it also went further to say 8% of Nigeria's fish production comes from artisanal fishery sector. So this is a fact, and then it has a reference, you know, backing it up. So as much as we are writing, we don't just write out of our own personal opinion. We must ensure that there are facts or there are citations backing up whatever we are saying. Then I think let me go to this last paragraph. It says fish and fishery products are a vital and affordable source of food and high quality protein. So we say in 28, fish as food reached an all-time high of nearly 70 kg per person, supplying over 3 billion people. 3 billion people. And you know what artisanal fishery sector will look like if about 3 billion people can have access to fish food protein, so which is a whole lot. So, and that is why the artisanal fishery sector in Nigeria, you know, could do a lot in contributing to the economy of Nigeria. So whatever you are writing, you must have facts, you must have statistics, you must have reason, then you must have citation. That is very, very important. Now, this will make your writing scientific, void of personal opinion, void of personal standing, but brings out the beauty of your work. Fine, you might have your own ideas, but by the time you are writing it, then you must look for certain publications or information to back it up. It might not be within that your environment. It might have happened probably in other continents or other countries, just for us to know that certain or this particular occurrence, if not well managed, could also lead to what happened in other continents. So that is where we are now. I mean, that's why you are bringing up that idea so that people will be informed. So let's look at the last phase, which is elements of scientific writing. Here we have the title page, which contains the research title or topic of study or your research interest. So that is the title page. Then we have the table of content, which talks about the brief description, usually the headings and subheadings and their respective page number, which is very, very important. Sometimes table of content might have the start and the end of the page of that particular heading you are in the body of the work. So sometimes it will just contain the starting page alone. So going through the page content gives the reader an overview of where to go to at a glance without actually opening the whole book. Then abstract. Abstract is a summary of an in-depth analysis of a research article, thesis, review, conference proceedings, or any scientific write-up. So that is the abstract. And every academic write-up must have an abstract, which is the summary of the whole work. The summary of the whole work, from the purpose or the aim of the objective, down to the materials and method, down to how the data is analyzed, down to the result, to the discussion and to the conclusion. The summary, the abstract caters for that. And sometimes it might have limited word count from 150 to 500 words. So that depends on the different platforms that you are submitting your scientific write-up to. They may have their own abstract word limits. The introduction, which is the first section of scientific writing that states its purpose and goal, that is justification and objective. Now, under the introduction, you would introduce the topic of interest from a broader perspective down to the specific area of focus. Then you now state the justification why the study is different from the previous study, because in science, repetition of a work that has already been done is not allowed. You can't repeat what has been done, but you can modify, you can bring an insight, a new dimension to a particular study, but repeating it is not allowed, because science seeks to bring new ideas, bring new insights, bring new outcome, rather than repeating what has been done. Sometimes in your own region, you might be the first person to have done something like that. It might have been done somewhere else, fine. But in your own area, which may have different scientific variables that will affect your study, like we in the tropics, we have our own variables that affect our findings or our researches. And somebody in the tropics, we have another variables affecting their own researches, like climate, like funding, all those things are there, but not repeating what has been done. In science, that is not allowed unless you are improving on what has been done earlier. So literature review is an overview of the previously published or unpublished research works on a topic. Now here you would, look for or search for information from previously published article, either the one that has been published or not. Then you look into them, search for information that are relevant to what you intend to write. And also, literature reviews refers to scholarly full paper or an article. You can do your literature review where you summarize and synthesize information, and then it can become either a full paper or a book that people can have summary of a particular area of focus, within just a book or an article, and which is very, very important. And literature review is an integral part of academic writing or write-up. And where it is not present, that is not a good academic writing. So methods. This element outlines how a laboratory experiment or finding was carried out procedurally. You must, in a way, write out the procedures of how you've gone about your findings. Now, permit me to say that literature review also would, in its own, be an experiment where you will state all the methods of how you get your information, of the number of articles or publications consulted, and how you're able to extract the information, and how this information or data are now analyzed. So literature review in its own sense will also be a research on its own. So you must take all the procedures. So having said that, also laboratory experiments, either within the social space or within, social economics or in the STEM area, you must set out how each of the methods or each of the parameters you intend to investigate are carried out. You must state everything. And you must specify the data analytical tools that you used. following standard or approved methodologies. You must follow it. You must state the authority on which your scientific investigation was based. And if you were the one that first come up with such method, then you must state it so that when people consult you, then you'll be referenced as an authority in that area. Then another area is results. So data obtained from lab experiments are presented using descriptive representation such as tables, charts, graphs, scatter plot, text, even diagrammatic representation are under and are what can be used to represent or present our data. So results gotten from our literature review, gotten from our laboratory experiments can be or are presented under the results section, and everything must go line by line. Everything must in a way articulate and conform with the objective of the study. So whatever is not said inside the objective or in the objective should not find their way into the results, because the objective of the study is where the aim, what the problem, state the problem that the research intends to solve, and therefore the results must appear in the results section. So another area is another element of scientific writing is discussion. This section describes, analyzes, and interprets the significance of the result obtained in relation to the research question. Whatever hypothesis, whatever questions, whatever assumptions you have about the topic of interest must be reflected in your discussion section. You must be able to, logically relate everything together and provide solutions to all of them. You must describe why your results, are either significant, correlated, or not. You must be able to describe and bring out the interpretation of your data at the discussion section, which is very, very interesting part. So discussion brings out the beauty of any scientific investigation. And that is why within the academic sphere, it is always the section that is called highest. So once you know a scientific writing or write-up or academic write-up or thesis is submitted, the discussion is always of interest to any scientist or any reader. Then I have conclusion, which refers to the logical inference drawn from the study. So having gone through the results, or let me say, having gone through the research questions, the assumptions, the hypothesis, through the methodology, the materials used to carry out this or to solve this or approach these particular assumptions or questions, then we must be able to bring out a logical conclusion from whatever we have written or done so far. This section, caters for it. So it is not always big, and much rather. So you must be able to bring out the beauty, whether we're able to solve the problem or approach the assumption, or be able to accept or reject any of the hypothesis sets at this level. And then to move over to recommendations, or move over to some suggestions for future studies on that topic, or areas that also relate to that topic. Then lastly, I have reference or bibliography. Here you have the collections of all authorities. Authorities here refers to the scientists or standard procedures. of going about your materials and method, how you go about your materials and method, the authorities that you followed, the procedure that you followed in carrying out your laboratory as experiment, in carrying out your publication search, all those things, you must put them as reference. I mean, all those things are under authority. Then, if peradventure you are able to get certain information about your area of interest from a particular author, then you will be able to cite those publications that you consulted during the course of your study inside the body of the scientific write-up, and then as well as have a full reference of the publications or the authorities in the reference section. Any question, please?
I have a question, sir.
All right.
Yeah, I want to ask, sir, is there any difference between abstracts and summary? Because in some write-up, there will be abstract and summary as well. So, and like you said, abstract is just the summary of the introductions and everything to the conclusion and discussion as well. So is there any differences between abstract and summary at all?
Okay. I think I have 2 questions now from you. Now, like I said, abstract is a condensed piece of the whole study. Are you getting me? The whole study is a condensed, or it's a summary. I don't want to use the word summary now. It's a condensed of the whole work, of the whole thesis, of the whole write-up. That is your abstract. Now, the summary that you see could be a standalone of a particular section, or of a particular area of the write-up, which does not necessarily comprises all the write-up itself. So that is just what I can say. So summary can just be some kind of what is just limited to a particular area, or even the whole thesis. You can just summarize it. You can just summarize the whole thesis without stating all the components. Like, okay, let me give you a typical example. You can summarize a thesis or a write-up stating, okay, this is what it is all about. This write-up is trying to solve the problems that aquatic organism faces, when there is contaminant, or when contaminants are released into the aquatic water body. But in case of abstract, you must write out the summary of each section, from the introduction to the justification to the materials and method to the results to the discussion. Everything must be present in the abstract. It is not always the case for the summary.
Okay, sir. Is it possible for, is there a possible needs for where there's abstract? Like, is it necessary to include summary as well? Like when you are writing a project or a write-up, is it necessary both the abstract and the summary should be in the write-up? Or because if we have abstracts, should we exclude the summary, or both should be in the content of the write-up?
Now, broadly, everything depends on the requirements of the research. Now, if Fisher's project requires that you write both summary and abstract, then they will be there. And if it is not, then, but obviously, most times, if you're writing reports, it's always good to include your summary as well as your abstract. There are some reports that doesn't require abstract, but basically the summary, which is overview, or which is the summary of what the whole work is all about. And it's always short, very short, very short. You know, this Fisher's prep project is all about educating the fisher folks on sustainable fishing practice. Are you getting me? So that is a good summary. But when it comes to the abstract, you would state all the processes, procedures that every members, or I mean, all the processes that the research itself, entails. So that is the difference between both of them. So summary might be there just to give the reader the exact meaning or the exact idea of what the whole project is all about. So it is always good to include summary in any scientific write-up. But when it comes to the academics, academic write-up now, abstract must be there. It is an integral part of the academic write-up so that anybody picking up the thesis can understand at a glance, see how things play out.
Thank you, sir. I get the point. Thank you.
All right. So here are my references: EPA Foundation, Intech Pokun, the Academic World List, Sustainable Fisheries Practices in Nigeria, Visual Spring, where I got the poster from the American Fisheries Society. Thank you for your attention.
Wow. Let's give our trainer a round of applause, please. Everybody, let's give him thumbs up. Let's appreciate him in the chat box. That was a lot. Yes, everybody. I'm expecting our reaction. Everybody give a thumbs up, give a thumbs up, give a thumbs up. Yes. Give a thumbs up, give a thumbs up. Sophia, Kola, and Victoria. Okay, I've seen Sophia's thumbs up. Yes, Kola and Mrs. Victoria, please give your emoji in the chat box because that was a lot.